It's my privilege to visit one of the best performing schools in the Northwest Province and to have a cup of tea with Nontsha, the principal of Vaal Reefs Technical School. Nontsha, your school is different than most of the schools in our country. Why is there a difference between your school and most of the other schools? What are you doing?
What are we doing? There's a lot, I think, that we are doing. First, you find that schools are different because of the challenges they face, because of the learners they draw from different communities. So we are different because we are facing the challenges head on. And we have decided beyond and above teaching, we must instill values in learners because we've looked at the learners that we draw from different communities and from different ethnicities. We are in a mining area, so that is part of the difference in our culture, in our everything.
And you're also a technical school, so you serve a broader community than just the learners who are staying and residing around the school.
Yes, we happen to be one of the oldest and, as you have said, a better performing school. So learners come from all over because of the subjects that we offer.
Now let's talk about values. What's the importance of values in your school?
Aim. Why are we a value-driven school? Because we believe we are. Our aim is to raise our standards by promoting the school ethos that is underpinned by the core values that support the development of the child as a reflective learner. We have a set of core values that we are concentrating on. Well, you'll find that each and every school has got a set of values, depending on the challenges I've spoken about. As we go on, you will learn which values do we really view as the core values in our school. But we view our success and everything, we view it as a result of the values that we instill in one another, in myself as well, in the teachers, in the whole school community.
That's an interesting remark. Whilst we were chatting about values, you said when you talk about values, it's not only about the learners.
Yes.
What do you mean?
We cannot be teaching values to learners when we are valueless. We all are from different backgrounds, but all of us, we have a set of values that guide us, that guide our behavior. So we believe that teachers must also demonstrate values, certain values that should be copied by learners. Learners should look at us and see different people. So we actually, I've remarked here that we as teachers, we are expected to be models of the same values that we teach the learners. Otherwise, the values that we teach become meaningless to learners if they don't see role models of such values. In this school, we start by a morning meeting every morning. Well, some people think of it as a waste of time, but for us, we motivate one another. As a principal, I need the motivation sometimes. So sometimes just a teacher will take the podium and motivate. The values often come from the Bible. The values come philosophically, but they are a part of the values that make us who we are. So if in the morning we start by a value-driven meeting, we are definitely going to have a value-driven day. Because, often people say, the message of this morning was talking to me. Then you already know that I've changed the mood of the teacher. Teachers are human beings as well. Sometimes they might come at home being down or in a different mood, but we start motivating using the same values that we want to inculcate to the learners in our morning meetings. As we move on, you will realize, and maybe you can look around, we have got themes. We've got themes in this school that are quarterly, and within these themes, we have loaded these values. So for a month, we'll be maybe talking about the same theme using certain values. And we don't only talk about these values in our morning meetings, we talk about them in assemblies, in all the meetings, because we are concentrating on specific values during a specific quarter.
Let's talk about the different values that you've touched on. Give us a few examples of the values that you've that you've installed on your learners?
Yes. I want to start by saying when I started here, I realized that I was being thrown into a different sea altogether. I've spoken about different ethnicities. They are different. Believe you me, they are different. I'm a Xhosa from the Eastern Cape. I've never taught Xhosas before. This was my first time to meet Xhosas and the Sothos. I've been in Tswana schools. And there's a belief generally that Tswanas have an amicable and peaceful nature. And that is very true. So I came here, there would be fights, you know. Then I realized, okay, these learners don't have peace. So peace is one of the values that we drive. We are talking here of core values. We are talking here about honesty, respect, integrity, humility, knowledge, responsibility, tolerance. The challenge of ethnicity, it actually forces us to emphasize tolerance. If I were to go deeper, you would realize that the learners tease themselves, one another, even about stuff that is done traditionally. And yet they are supposed to tolerate one another's traditions and cultures. We are talking here about pure happiness. Our learners have been taught that material things, the world out there can give you happiness. We are trying to move away from that and teach them reality in the school, that you don't derive happiness from only a television, a video, a tavern, the very same tavern that introduced our children to liquor and drugs. We are trying to change them, that there is something called pure happiness within you. And we are teaching them simplicity. You know, we are teaching them freedom, peace, work ethic. We are teaching them compassion. Within the South African concept of Ubuntu, we talk a lot about compassion. This is something that some kids come here, they don't know anything about them. Remember, we draw learners from child-headed families. Nobody has ever taught them anything. And in an ideal world, a learner comes with values already to the school, from home and from the community. But we have cases where you find this learner has got no clue as to how to live with other people. We also view love of God, as one of the values, because this is the love that makes us to be able to love one another as a family in this school. So we emphasize these. Like I've said, we've got 4 quarters, 4 terms. All these core values that I've mentioned here are embedded within the themes that we talk about. Like when we talk of, if the theme is diversity, we'll be talking about peace, we'll be talking about tolerance, love, this and this and this and this.
You've made a remark earlier this morning that it's not limited to what you do in the classroom.
Yes.
Explain that to us, please.
Yes, when I say it's not limited in what we do in the classroom, it is, these days we've got life orientation. We ensure that values are taught directly through the lessons in the classroom during life orientation. But for us, we intend developing the learners holistically. When we develop learners holistically, it's about developing them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and otherwise. So you cannot limit it to the learning content. They must practice these values. When we go out there to play, we teach them that if we play, we teach them unity. We are one. We are a team from Vaal Technical High School. We are not a team of glory seekers. So as you play, remember, you must have the whole team in mind and your school in mind, pride. And we actually tell them that they must show these values even if they go and play outside there. They must act in such a way that people know that they are different from other people. Values make you to be, a set of values make you to be a different person. It has got to do with your moral fiber. It builds your moral fiber. And as I sit here, I'm proud to say that we have seen values being, cascaded down to all our learners, from the classroom to the field, to the meetings that are addressed by the learners. We sometimes feel that teaching values is also something that you must make sure that learners themselves can teach them to other learners. So what we do is we ask learners to run meetings. By running meetings, the learners find time to actually explore their own understanding of values as they are actually running the meetings they are talking about a specific value.
On a very practical level, Nontsha, does it mean if you're a value-driven school that you've abandoned the rules at the school?
No, we don't abandon the rules of the school. The rules are very important. But I think if you are to live by a set of rules, then you stop being human at some stage. I've always said that learners are human beings. And in fact, to be honest, the only thing they have is their dignity. So if you tie yourself and you are just focused on rules only, you might find, without even meaning to, you have actually trampled on the dignity of the learner. Let me make a practical example. I've already told you we draw learners from different townships, far, and they use transport. Some of them are disappointed by the transport that they use. So if maybe we are dealing with latecomers as the set of rules is indicating to us, there is a learner, you see that there's a learner who is never late. There must be a problem. Wouldn't you want to hear the side of the story? Because by punishing, this must be a very performing learner and you actually know that this is odd. Then practically, you appeal to your knowledge or your set of your own values that maybe let me give her a hearing. What could be the problem? Then you save the dignity of this learner because you have not generalized her or him with the rest of the learners who are usually late and all that. Then you listen to the learner, you hear the side of the story. I think this is one of the practical ways of, of actually acting on your values and also ensuring that the learners understand values because you expect the learners not to lie. So as you listen to the story, you must be able to detect is the learner lying or not. And you are actually respecting the learner enough to say, you are not usually absent or late. Despite the rules, I'm respecting you enough to give you an opportunity to talk to us and tell us why are you late today in particular.
Nontsha, you're very proud of a value-driven school, but it's been a long road transforming the school from a rule-based school to a value-driven school. Tell us about the journey and how did you get buy-in from all the role players in your school?
It wasn't easy. It was difficult. But, Yako, when I came here, I told myself I want to make a distinguished difference in the teachers of this school. I found some of the teachers here, in the learners, in the parents, and the entire community. But you can't just push your thinking and your values around and whatever else. When you come to a place, people are already afraid that there's new management, she's going to change everything. You don't change everything. I found the school with certain values. Then when you want people to buy in, especially the parents and the learners as well, you call them in a meeting. The way I did it, we called class by class to sell the idea of values because we believe that without these values, then our teaching and learning is futile. So we actually established a committee of parents, learners, and teachers who are going to drive this with me. What you do is you explain where this is taking us, and you actually tell them, you can't be a know-all when it comes to stuff like this, but you tell them the challenges that you see. For example, when I came here, there was a lot of gangsterism from different townships. And I'm proud to say that today, they know the difference. They know what they should be involved in, what they shouldn't be involved in. So if parents buy in, you cannot just expect them to buy in without teaching them. You teach them about values. In most cases, they already know about these values, but maybe they didn't know how to actually bring values into the learning and teaching institution to enhance productivity. But they buy in if you have done the lessons. You give them, you value their inputs, and you involve them. You cannot just, they must feel that they are part of this. You get them involved, you give them certain sections of the themes to actually talk about them at assembly or to address other parents.
In your opinion, when you start to identify the specific values, is there a difference in approach in the different ethnic groups in your school, or from different areas or different races for that matter? Or are they universal values?
Values are values, and I've already told you about how our staff is, the demographics of the staff. But when it comes to values, I view values as the cement in a school as unique as ours. They cement us together. Because respect is respect. It doesn't matter where you come from. Humility is humility. It doesn't matter whether you are black, white, or you are a Tswana or a Swazi, or you are from Mozambique. But it's just the same thing. Love is love. Compassion is compassion. But then there seems to be a different understanding or approach to values. Like if I speak of respect with a Swazi, for example, and a Zulu, for them, a learner will enter. I usually invite performing learners to my office and have tea with them and discuss their studies. But if I invite a Zulu or a Swazi boy or girl, it's difficult for them to enter that office and engage in a conversation with me. It's like I'm putting them in a deep fix of some kind, and they can't even look you in the face, and to them, that is respect. I've heard people thinking that it is broadly with all the African people, but no, it's not with all the African people. With us, the Xhosas, the Sothos, and the Tswanas, we actually say, that means when you speak to somebody, you see the news even in the eyes, what you are talking about, you interact, the expression, you read what the other person is thinking from their eyes. But it's different with other cultures. So we view respect very differently. For me, I'm like, if they don't look at me, it's like they're hiding something. But I've learned all this now. And then I would slowly, as they look down, just continue talking, until you'll realize when you touch on something that they really are passionate about, then they will raise their heads and talk about it. And now, in a way, you relate at a different level because you are talking about a topic they understand, they know. And you find with time, they actually change. We become one family that views respect the same way.
Obviously, the teachers is a vital component of your values program. How do you keep your teachers motivated at your school?
In South Africa, that has become so different, where democracy is misinterpreted, according to me. It's very difficult to ask people to go an extra mile. There are those who will listen. There are those who will be telling you, I'm democratically free to live or whatever. They don't think they should be committed. With me, I would say it starts with patriotism. I'm sorry, I want to divert a bit. When I was in Finland, they talked a lot about trust. And when you listen to them, I think they lack a better way of actually unpacking the word trust. But the word trust is very loaded. And I see it in my staff. I've got a big staff, but I've got a lot of them that I can say they are trustworthy. And how do I see the trustworthiness? It's because these are patriotic South Africans. To me, the word trust that the Finnish talk about is patriotism. You have to encourage the teachers and tell them where South Africa is going. Talk about what you read. Bring in literature into your meetings, because I view meetings as developmental. Talk sense to them. Bring the economy into the classroom. into your meeting so that they can see what you're talking about. When you say save South Africa because we've got this challenge and this challenge, and because we draw learners from these disadvantaged areas, what somebody else can teach out there for 35 minutes, we have to teach it for an hour. Can you go an extra mile and come and teach on Saturday so that this learner becomes a learner who is educated, who is stable in future, who is civil as a citizen? Can you go that extra mile? Then you look at people, and because you have appealed to them using, patriotism, they actually stand up and do it. And I've seen this not only with South Africans. I've got white South Africans here, I've got black South Africans, they do it. But I've been amazed by the foreigners. They've bought into inculcating values of workaholism in the learners. You find them coming here to do experiments on Saturdays, going an extra mile. Because there's this guy who would be saying, when I'm at home and I want to come to school, I'm thinking of a particular learner, I think of what to say that change the life of a child every day. It doesn't matter who. So by motivating the teachers, you actually are also ensuring that the values that you are trying to inculcate in the learners are actually inculcated in the teachers themselves. You instill them in yourself, you instill them in the teachers. You have, at the end of the day, you've got an entire community of value-driven people. I always say, I am developing a community of leaders here. So what I am is what I want them to be. And I always tell them, I know I'm a good leader. And I'm not really sounding my trumpet here. But if I am a good leader, I want to see it in you. You must be a better leader. And believe you me, the teachers, they go out there and you see these values in them. I've spoken about work ethic. It's still there. I have a challenge here. Almost half of the staff belong to SADU. SADU is known to disrupt schools, and nobody is actually painting SADU black. They're actually doing it. In my school, they are different. I appeal to them. I tell them, look, to me, teachers are supposed to be the national intelligentsia. How can you be called national intelligentsia that is supposed to change the world, develop people, produce doctors and this, and then you can desert your classrooms? Because, I'm sorry to say this, Yako, because somebody who was clueless about education is telling you to desert your classroom. And at the end of the day, it has got nothing to do with education or you or anything. It is political. I'm not afraid to talk about these things. When we reopened during the second term, that was the beginning of the Goslow. And I came prepared. I'm sorry, I can't say I'm perfect. I don't do these things alone. I invite God. Because I've noticed that you need even spiritual intelligence. So you are never sure what is going to happen when you are reopening schools today and you are told there's a Goslow. So you talk to God first before you can go there and talk to them. And it works, Yako. I don't know if it works for some people, but for me, I attribute my success with driving values in this institution, with developing a culture of values, of ethos, to God himself. So teachers do listen. I've got a different set of SADU teachers here who decide. And I would ask them questions. Okay, fine. They want ENG out. What is your role in that? What are you going to do? By leaving your classes, what has the learner done to you? If they feel ENG is inefficient, so are we now as teachers going to now create a new generation of inefficient workers in the future because we've deserted them? And it sinks. It does sink. Patriotism. This is what the Finns are calling trust. If every teacher out there could be so trustworthy, when you are trustworthy is when parents, the government, and everybody and God can trust you with the nation. This is what I call a deeper kind of patriotism. We have not closed doors for God in this school. So I know we live in a South Africa that is different. I hope I won't be offending whoever will be viewing this when I often speak about God.
Can we afford not to start a values program in all the schools? What's the consequences for South Africa if we don't transform all our schools from rule-based schools to value-based schools?
I can imagine if all the schools do not change into being value-driven schools, I can imagine what can happen, disaster. Can you imagine a whole lot of learners that we have been trusted with by the whole nation to develop into future citizens, and they have no values? It means we are going to end up with people who will be running our government offices. If they don't have values, there will be no work ethic, there will be no respect, there will be cases after case because of lack of values. So we'll be developing citizens who are irresponsible, who know nothing about being humble, who cannot take responsibility of anything that they do wrong. Then we are courting disaster as a country. It is in the light of this that I wish we can go out there and tell everyone that it starts with your heart. If you are a true South African, you must change. And as you have been trusted with the future of this country, education is the future. If you have been trusted with education or educating the learners of this country, then you must be trustworthy. That is, you must be honest. You must be a person of integrity. Integrity is also a very loaded word because it's talking about your moral being. So we cannot afford to have citizens who are immoral. We already have challenges of quite a number of things that are eroding the morality in our children, in our schools, in teachers themselves. I would cite, for example, to me, unionism in education is eroding the fiber of professionalism, the moral fiber of professionalism. So we cannot afford not to be value-driven.
Nontsha, what's the role of the community in your school, the broader community? Do they play a role, and to what extent will they play a role in your school?
I will start with the community. I like being practical. This is a mining area. The school is situated in a mining area. Most of us, the teachers, stay far away from here. Unlike schools in townships, or if I may put it roughly and say black schools, they are broken into time and time again. But because of our relationship, because of the values that we share with the community, we have no such here. Ever since I came here, yes, you can see that we have intensified security, but we have no such because the community is part of us. I've spoken to you about the concept of Ubuntu. When something goes wrong, say a pipe, a burst, a member of the community will call us and tell us something is wrong. Can somebody come in? So we relate very well with the community. We share the same values. When our learners are misbehaving, the community doesn't find it difficult to come to the school because we have developed a relationship. We are approachable. We had a challenge, I think 3 years back, where some Chinese had opened, I don't know if it's still there, a tavern of some kind. So learners who are late because they would be afraid of punishment, maybe they would go there. For anybody who reasons, you cannot welcome a child in a school uniform in a tavern. But community members would drive the learners to our school. To me, this is a value-driven community. They know this is wrong. We have relationships with business. We are who we are today because of Anglo-Gold Ashanti. Well, a long time ago, when it was still Anglo-American, they built this school. This is the legacy of Anglo-Gold Ashanti. Well, all the companies, they restructure. When I came here, unfortunately, it was that period of restructuring. But we have resuscitated our relationships because of what they see. They would tell us that the school would be, a long time ago, well, that's why we moved away. it would be like the school is out earlier, the learners will be all over. Yes, even today, after school, you find the learners still at the robots, because that one I attribute to the parents who don't organize proper transport. But today, Anglo Gold Ashanti is able to say, we can see the school is running. We welcome the idea of resuscitating the relationship. We want, part of our values is creating an atmosphere that is conducive to learning and teaching. So without security, we can't do it. So we have had Anglo Gold Ashanti giving us money to secure the place. We've got fenced school, we close our gates, our children are safe. And we meet and talk about the values that we instill in the learners, where we are going with this value thing. We involve them in our well, we involve them when we have got what we call rituals, functions for the school that we do yearly. We involve them to share with us what we do and what they are doing, their contribution to the values of the school. So we always say, come and feel the heartbeat of Vaal Reefs Technical High School, because our hearts as a school beat because of the values that we have instilled, because of who we've branded ourselves. We relate with churches. Sometimes we invite community leaders to address at assembly. Well, we can't be everything. Sometimes we really need those who are spiritual to emphasize upon some of the values. Like our themes will be leading us to emphasize from a different perspective. For example, from a biblical perspective, they can emphasize a value that is already in our theme for the month. We invite the police to teach them values as well, and tell them the truth of being in jail, because learners end up in jail because of a culture that lacks a set of values. I don't know how they get there, but let me tell you the honest truth. As a school, it's like we are doing some kind of a damage control thing. Some learners are heading families. Some, as the parents leave the mine, they are left here on their own. So there's a lot that we have to deal with. So we need all the stakeholders. We need business and industry. We need community leaders. We need churches as well to enhance our journey towards being a fully and totally value-driven school.
What's the educational value of values?
To the learners.
To the learners.
Yes, I must say to you that there are benefits. When there is a culture based on a set of values in a school, there are benefits for the learners. One, improved concentration. You see, I've said to you, we draw learners from a different world where they've been told that they can only be happy if there is this and this and this and this. That means they live externally. They don't connect with their inner selves. So they get stressed a lot and they cannot concentrate in class because of the demands of the societies where they come from, especially where they've been told, if you don't have this material stuff, you cannot fit, blah, 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 blah. But when we change these, you find that a learner's got a different view of and a different relationship with material things and the material world. And then you see there's improved concentration, there's better learner behavior. We are a school that boasts 1,822 learners. They came from nowhere, and I'm sure you are surprised. When I was busy working for FEDSAS at national level, apparently a lot went on. The mayor went around campaigning, not that we asked the mayor to campaign for us, but he was impressed when he came to this school. We had absorbed a school last year, and he was deployed in that school, and he said he was not impressed. So we adopted the school last year, and the school is out of the threat zone. We are actually here mostly because of that school even now. I mean, we have reached a stage where we want our values to reach everyone. So we boast such numbers, but the number of behavioral cases that we have are far less than the number of learners that we have. So what does that mean? It means the learners learn to behave differently. So there is better learner behavior, there is improved social and academic standards. They relate better with teachers, with one another. That improves even academic standards. You know, the adoption of a general culture of achievement and excellence is what we see in our learners. Even when they leave the school, if you were to visit our school page on Facebook, you would hear them saying, we still are proud to be learners from Vaal Technical High School. Because in this school, we have learned how to excel at everything that you do. This is something that we have instilled in our learners. They've adopted it. I see they adopt it even beyond the parameters of the school. Because you meet them out there, they are different. We see the quality of learning. We always, every term, we draw up. We don't only do the promotion schedule, but we draw up a merit list. Then you see the improvement and we award them. The quality of learning improves because the environment becomes more conducive to teaching and learning. Improved self-esteem in learners, like the case I was relating to you of this Swazi boy who couldn't look at me because maybe nobody ever told him how wonderful he is. You know, achievement doesn't come by mistake. It is evidence of hard work. So I couldn't understand why the boy was shy to even look at me because I'd called him for a good thing. But it's because maybe nobody ever appreciated him. So you see that boy today. He's one of the boys we are going with to China. You look at him, you know that his self-esteem has improved a lot and holistic development. You see, when you look at a learner from Vaal Technical High School, this is a learner who can fit anywhere because he's stable. He has been developed holistically. We go deep into extracurricular activities because we believe in the entire holistic development of learners. In other words, our values have lifted our vision and mission statement. They've lifted them from the wall, from our files. We are acting them, and we are seeing the results.